Fantastic. Happy Wednesday. Is anybody in the Vegas time warp right now? Like you're like, is it Monday? Is it Tuesday? Is it Wednesday? I've been there a little bit right now. I woke up yesterday. I was like, I think I have a meeting, and it's tomorrow. The meeting's tomorrow, but I'm here on time, which is great. And we're going to talk a little bit about the craziness that's going on right now, but also within your portfolio. I'm Shannon Mason. I run product at Tempo. You can definitely stop by our booth. It's right on the other side, directly across the way. And we're going to chat today about something that I'm extremely passionate about, which is turbulence and surviving it within your portfolio process. And then also the tooling that you can use to help make sure that you have the right visibility as you move through crazy times. Have to flash this, we're going to talk a little bit about product features here too. I know I've got some customers here on the floor right now as well. So this is something that I want to make sure you all know. We're going to be talking about things that are a part of our future, as well as things that are happening right now within the Tempo product line. Start with this. One of my favorite books is Rummelt's Good Strategy, Bad Strategy. And in that book, he tells the story of a Vietnam fighter pilot and helicopter pilot. And there's this wonderful quote, and I actually keep this with me all the time. Our CEO is tired of hearing me say it. It's really around, when things are chaotic, does your organization know what the fundamental basics of how you operate, your ways of work, are? Because if it's too chaotic, everybody's going to focus on that, and if you have no ways of working, everything starts to crumble. I think it's really well encapsulated by this quote. If you can't focus on flying, if you can't fly and have that automatic ability to understand how do I operate, then a crisis is going to be completely overwhelming to your organization, and you're going to start chasing things. The story is told through that lens of this pilot. He left Vietnam, he came back to the States, and then started doing rescue missions off the coast, Northwest coast, which if anybody's familiar, Pacific Northwest, doing rescue missions there is absolutely crazy. And he lands planes and he lands helicopters on ships, and those ships list. And so through that process of understanding exactly what it takes for him to fly, he's able to really focus on the chaos and the craziness of the situation. This is our organizations right now, right? Everybody's probably dealing with a little bit of wildness inside of your org. Maybe there's been some big changes. Maybe you've had layoffs. Maybe you're talking about how you restructure your strategy in order to achieve the right goals. Maybe you're a little bit more focused on retaining your customers, whereas before you might have been thinking about high levels of innovation and new things to do. But you might not have an actual process around that, which is weird because 60% of organizations are really focused on effective portfolio management in order to achieve their strategy. So this is something that's identified as mission critical inside of an organization. Deloitte did a study a couple of years ago around it, and people were like, yes, we absolutely need to do this. But only 30% of organizations actually have a formal process internally. So raise of hands here in the crowd. How many of your organizations have a process in terms of how you're managing your portfolio of products, programs, or projects that the entire org, your teams, the individual contributors, not just your leadership organization, actually understands? How many folks here? Yes, and we need one, right? Because process is extremely important, especially for navigating how we're going to connect our strategy with what we're actually doing on a day-to-day basis, so we do not waste people's time. We do not waste our smart, intelligent employees' time. And there's a benefit to this. Organizations that have some level of an internal process around how you're managing your portfolio see a 17% increase on the return on investment for the initiatives that they're running in-house. So within this context, at Tempo, we're thinking about how do you get to the level of mindfulness that's required, that's necessary to actually understand your internal processes that are associated to the strategic goals that you're looking to achieve. What does that strategic network inside of your organization connect to? It's important to us around this because we're trying to help our organizations that we're working with understand what does it look like for you to fly so that you can actually focus on the crisis. At Tempo, our mission from a product standpoint is to help organizations never again create unpivotable, unachievable, and unrealistic plans. We want you to be able to understand as soon as things start to shift, as soon as things start to change, as soon as potentially maybe you add people to a team and that completely changes the way that their velocity works, you have that insight to understand how is that going to impact our overarching roadmap and our overarching plan. We do that through our product portfolio. So within the Tempo product set, and I'm really actually quite happy because leading into Team here, we announced the acquisition of custom charts for Jira and Confluence, and that adds to our portfolio of solutions to help organizations understand how is all of this work connected to the actual execution that happens. Because at the end of the day, if we're not executing against a plan, we're just thinking in dreams. Within the Tempo portfolio, we have a bunch of solutions and tools to help you understand how all of this work then connects together. The first is being able to understand time, both from a time and capacity standpoint, a plan standpoint, as well as being able to understand your strategic roadmaps and your plans for an overarching view into what you're trying to achieve from a product portfolio standpoint. When you move those plans into execution, you want to understand how do I programmatically detail and know the progress that I'm making. One of our customers is managing thousands upon thousands of people as part of a multi-massive program. She wants to know, am I on track? Am I on time? Am I on budget? So that she can make sure if there are shifts and pivots to make, she can make the right ones. Hard to do that if you're just trying to see things from one project to the next project. Through our structure project, she's able to understand how that work all connects with itself. We also added to the portfolio Liquid Planner recently, and that gives us the ability to do predictive analysis and insight and scenario planning around capacity management on an automated way. All of these pieces then connect together. So if we're trying to make sure we're keeping steady, we want to understand our teams. We want to understand our people. Through our Planner product, we allow you to understand how are our teams aligned to the strategic work inside of our organization. What do those epics look like? What if it's multiple projects that I want to see all of that work in aggregate so that I can understand whether or not I'm overtaxing my team? How do I make the right changes, the right adjustments to understand whether or not my team is becoming overloaded? Because one of the things that happens as we potentially reduce the sizes of our organization or add more folks to our group is an understanding of whether or not that true capacity is actually true. So no more spreadsheets, no more guessing. We want you to be able to understand that information inside of the products where your teams are actually executing. Then we want to connect that information to time. One of the things that we've been exploring at Tempo is automating time information. We started as a timesheet product, and we've been moving beyond just doing literal time tracking. We introduced just a couple months ago a machine learning model that actually helps organizations understand where time is being spent without actually having to enter literal time data. We'll do it on your behalf. And what we're seeing through our data, because if anybody in here has done any sort of ML releases, you want to do it quietly, see whether or not it's having that impact. And what we're seeing with our use is that 50% decrease in time to entrance for folks, because time is kind of a general currency for folks to operate within. Even if you're doing agile practices, you're doing tasks, you're usually tasking out in time, right, in hours. And we want to make that as easy as possible so that we can feed those plans effectively and then also understand costs. That cost data then connects into our program understanding. How do our programs, how do our projects upon projects and projects and the costs that are associated to those programs connect to the people that are doing the work and the real work that they're executing against? Give me visibility into that. I'm a product person, but I get asked all the time by our board, how much is this costing us to do, Shannon? How close are we going to be to actually getting this executed? And through our tools, I'm able to give an accurate reflection of how fast we're going, whether or not there's any changes that I need to adapt for, and then, more importantly, how much does it cost? I start, though, from the basics. And the basics is our plan, our roadmap. I take ideas in, I understand how things are moving. Our customers take ideas in, they understand how things are moving. They lay out potentially even transformational roadmaps, and they want to connect all of those pieces to that beautiful execution information that I just showed you. And then there's a little bit of magic. So one of the things that has been an ongoing question for me in my career as a product leader, and also for our customers, is as things shift, how can I grab data that isn't lagging, that isn't even leading, that's actually coincident indicators, and understand what sorts of scenarios can I then play out? One of my dreams is to see organizations achieve the benefit and the value of ongoing and consistent adaptive portfolio management. And through our Liquid Planner product, we have the ability to then understand your people, their skills, and then connect that with the work, make those micro adjustments, change those adjustments, and see whether or not you actually can, within about 95% accuracy, which is really, really great when we consider the fallibility of human planning, understand whether or not you're actually going to achieve that plan on time. We're on the path to try to figure out how we get you to planning nirvana. We want to understand whether or not you can do the things you want to do within the costs that I know you all are being asked to stay within, and execute it exquisitely. The other piece that we're focused on at Tempo is connecting you to the tooling that you're using outside of Atlassian and inside of Atlassian. So we're cross-connecting all of our products so that you can integrate that data together, but we also understand that some organizations are shooting their data to other places. They want to understand whether or not those costs really connect with how the finance organization is managing their data, that information. So a big part of our focus as we head into the rest of 2023 is to focus specifically on making sure that you have those data connections that you need in order to supply the information to the organizational leaders or even yourself so that you have that visibility into how you're doing. Now, one of the things that would be totally remiss if I didn't mention is that we have a ton of early access programs going on, testing out a lot of our new ideas. If you want to see all of the work that we're doing around taking your JIRA information and being able to do pivotable and adaptive plans, stop by our booth. If you're interested in understanding how do I aggregate multiple projects into a giant program to understand the costs, please stop by our booth. I see our two product folks right here that are doing that work. And we also would love your feedback on what sorts of data are you looking to aggregate when you're thinking about how your teams are spending their time, so that we can make sure as we're building out more models, as we're building out more data for you to effectively manage your organizations, you have that information coming in and we can supply it to you so you can make great decisions. Because as a reminder, our product mission is to help you never achieve awfulness. We want you to achieve everything that's possible. And the way that we're going to do that together is by doing plans that happen in real time. I'm Shannon Mason, CPO at Tempo. It's been great to meet all of you virtually and digitally here. And if you have any questions, feel free to hit me up or stop by our booth. Thanks.